Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Welcome to Ford in Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. And if you're watching on the YouTube, you're probably wondering, where's Vegas and why is he a puppet? That's right. Vegas is not here this week, but I have the Vegas puppet sitting in for him. The differences between Vegas and the Vegas puppet is the Vegas puppet has a little bit more charisma, but other than that, they're pretty close to being identical twins. As you could tell if you're listening on the podcast, you cannot see this, but if you head to fordandvegas.com, you will see what I'm talking about. So, yeah, no Vegas, just me here today, right now. As I record this on December 2, we are 23 days away from Christmas. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to give a thumbs up on that video. Also, if you're on the go, you can subscribe to this show as a podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget you could hit the subscribe button as well and watch the show over at fordandvegas.com. This show in podcast form is ad-free. That's right, ad-free. Ad-free for just $3 a month, which goes to supporting the show. Simply go to patreon.com/Ford and Vegas. Ford and Vegas is also the Twitter handle as well as the Instagram handle, Ford and Vegas. And if you want to buy a Ford and Vegas shirt, you could do so. Shopfordandvegas.com. We have the brand new flamingo shirt up as well. Shopfordandvegas.com. Remember, premium soft is the best quality. We'll start this episode in Moscow, and I don't mean Russia. I mean Idaho. When I first heard about this story, I was like, and I had just seen the pictures of the two blonde-haired girls, seeing as though they're probably the prettiest of the four. They seem to be the ones who are featured mostly in the pictures. There's a reason. And when I heard at first, I heard Moscow. I'm like, what are these two blonde-haired girls doing in Moscow? These American girls, Moscow, Russia for? What the hell's going on? Then I find out there's a Moscow, Idaho. Didn't know that. I learned that when I heard about this story. So there's students that go to, I'm assuming, the University of Idaho. But I'm not 100%. But we're going to learn. If you're unfamiliar with this case, or if you're looking for the absolute latest on this case, you're going to get it right here tonight on this show. Also, Ragin Rob is here, and I have quick hits. So this is basically a regular Ford in Vegas show with just Ford, no Vegas. So here is what we know. Well, this is more about the things we still don't know about this case here. 4 University of Idaho students found dead on November 13th with no suspects and no arrests. Well, that is not encouraging. These students are believed to have been asleep in their beds when they were stabbed to death. Officials have reversed course on several aspects of the probe, including about whether the attack was targeted. The case has been plagued by rumors and amateur web sleuths. Now, that's not going to be me tonight. I am not going to be an amateur web sleuth, and neither is the Vegas puppet. The 4 students, Zana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, were both 20. 21-year-olds Kaylee Gonclaves and Madison Mogan, who are the 2 blonde-haired girls that you see mostly in the media posts and stories about this, were all found fatally stabbed at an off-campus house in the town of Moscow, Idaho, at about noon on Sunday, November 13th. So noon on Sunday, November 13th. All right. I'm making a note of that here on my notepad. They were found, the police received a 911 call about an unconscious person. Each victim had been stabbed multiple times, and some of them had defense wounds. A preliminary timeline pieced together of the hours before suggested nothing out of the ordinary. Mr. Chapin and Miss Kernodle had spent the previous night at a party on campus, while Miss Mogan and Miss Gonclaves were at a bar before ordering a meal from a food truck shortly after 1:45 local time. I believe that was where you see the video circulating a week or so ago in the media with that person of interest standing behind them, kind of watching the 2 girls. All 4 students are believed to have returned to their home without incident by about 2 a.m. Another 2 students who survived the attack had returned home about an hour earlier. In a statement, police said that 2 survivors had called friends to the residence because they believed that one of the second-floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. Investigators do not believe the 2 survivors were involved in the murders. Details of what happened in the house in the early hours of that day remain scant, although police have noted that there were no signs of forced entry or damage to the property. The murder weapon, which is believed to be a fixed blade knife, has not been recovered. In the first days of the investigation, police businesses across the area were contacted to see if similar knives had recently been sold. The investigation has also been plagued by conflicting information and rumors. On the 15th of November, for example, Moscow police issued a statement in which they said that they believed the attack was isolated and targeted. The statement and another later that day also said that the investigators believed that there was no imminent or ongoing threat to the public. An update published on the 30th of November, however, characterized the statement as a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate, the 30th November statement said. Adding to the confusion, the Moscow police website continues to claim that while police believe the attack was targeted, they have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants. Authorities have also been forced to repeatedly address unverified rumors or investigative details, some of them being rapidly spread online, damn it, by an army of web sleuths, including potential connections to a 1999 stabbing in Washington and a 2021 stabbing in Oregon. Speculation about a connection to a September altercation between local residents and a knife-wielding cyclist have led to a referral for misdemeanor charges, although police have said that the incident was unrelated to the murders. More than one person could have a knife. Additionally, police dispelled suggestions from friends and family of Kaylee Gonclaves that she had a stalker. Investigators have looked extensively into information received about Kaylee having a stalker, Moscow police said in a statement. They have pursued hundreds of pieces of information related to this topic, but have not verified or identified a stalker. I can understand that, though. Blonde and pretty, someone out there might be stalking. A neighbor of the students, Jeremy Ragin, was also forced to publicly defend himself from ruthless social media users who speculated that he may have been involved in the killings. "I didn't do it," he told News Nation. "I'm willing to give DNA, fingerprints, whatever they need." As the investigation continues with the help of state police and the FBI, authorities are urging the public to come forward if they have any information and to avoid spreading baseless rumors. Stop it. There is speculation about factual backing, stoking community fears, and spreading false facts. The most recent police statement said, "We encourage referencing official releases for accurate information and updated progress." Spreading false facts. That doesn't sound right. Can you spread a false fact? Or is it false information? If it's a fact, how can it be false? Or is it false information as fact? Maybe that's what they're referring to. Also on this story today, this is all brand new stuff. Just so you know, we are not talking about week-old stuff here. This is all brand new. There is a former tenant of this Moscow, Idaho home where these kids were all killed. His name is Ryan Augusta. He's a healthcare worker and local business owner who now lives in Genesee, Idaho. Told Fox News Digital in an interview that when he lived on the first floor of the home on King Road in 2019, unless his roommate was playing the television loudly on the second floor, he typically heard nothing from the second and third floors. "I wouldn't have heard it from downstairs," Augusta, 43, said when asked whether he could hear activity coming from the second and third floors of the house when he lived on the first floor. At the time of the quadruple homicide, there were 6 tenants listed on the lease for the home located near the university's campus, next door to Greek Row, where the student fraternity and sorority houses are located. The house has 3 floors. Each floor has 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. The first floor has a door accessible from the driveway, and the second floor has a sliding door accessible from the ground and back patio area because the house was built on a slope in the backyard. Augusta is a U.S. Army Navy veteran. He said he did not know of any crime in that area when he lived there. Moscow police have said that 2 of the victims' roommates who lived on the first floor survived the attack they survived the attack that happened on the 13th. The 2 roommates on the first floor arrived home at 1 a.m., like we discussed, and Kernodle and Chapin got home at 1:45. The 2 blonde-haired girls, Conclaves and Mogan, were back just before 2 a.m. So we don't want to deal with rumor and false facts, of course. Right, Puppet Vegas? So it is unclear as of right now that this case, when the victims began their release on June 5th, some victims' social media posts showed images of the home that reflected that the locks had since been changed, since Ryan Augusta said that the doors were pretty much unlocked. The screen door, Augusta lived in the house residents, code locks on each bedroom door because each bedroom was rented individually. So looking at pictures on social media, it looks like those doors, those locks, those handles have been changed. Augusta lived there with a handful of other people, all men at the time, who were a mix of students or employees at the University of Idaho or Washington State University, or workers at nearby businesses. Augusta lived there for 6 months and moved out in December of 2019. He called the residence at the time a community house. You never locked the side screen door. Why would you lock the screen door? I mean, you've got locks on all the rooms, so we never locked the screen door. He said people frequently used a walk path that led directly from the area of the King Road home to nearby fraternities. People would continue to walk the path of the parking lot back there because they probably parked back there and they lived next door in the Brown complex or something. So yeah, people would walk through there all the time. You would always hear people out front, always trash on the ground, broken bottles. It was pretty nasty. The former tenant said he did not have any concerns about his own safety in the neighborhood, probably because he wasn't a blonde-haired woman. I was concerned for everyone else's safety at 1122, but that's because there's so many outrageous parties. I was more worried about drunken hooligans just causing a ruckus. Augusta said that he has since submitted 2 tips to police and is considering a third based on his experiences around Moscow and living at the home. First off, why is this town? Am I the only one who's concerned with the reason of why it's called Moscow, Idaho? That part still throws me through a loop here through all of this. Not even the quadruple homicide. Why is there a Moscow, Idaho? I don't know. What do you think, Puppet Vegas? Just will not shut up tonight. So the dad of the girl Kaylee Goncalves, who is one of the girls that you see most frequently pictured, probably because she's blonde. I don't know that to be a fact, but it's an educated guess. He said yesterday that his family has not held a funeral yet because they fear that the killer relishes the attention and could show up to the service. Now, that would be a ballsy move. I mean, I don't know who did this, obviously, but to have the balls to show up to the service? Who's got the balls to do that? I mean, I guess O.J. Simpson did, didn't he? I guess O.J. Simpson had the balls to show up, but he kind of had to. Because his kids were, his kid's mother. I believe he was there. I could be wrong. It's 1994. I feel like O.J. was there. At least at the wake. I believe he was. So I guess somebody like O.J. would show up to the service, but I feel like O.J. had no other choice. This guy, assuming it's a guy, he's got choices. And I don't know if you have the balls to do that. But hey, this family's, they're the ones that are in charge of this. It's pretty much a fact. Who does something like this and doesn't tune into the media? Who wouldn't? It's in his 100% selfish interest, said Steve Goncalves. He could easily be there, and that's the sick kind of twisted person that would do this kind of crap. Mary Ellen O'Toole, a retired FBI profiler who once worked in the Bureau's prestigious behavioral analysis unit, says that the arrogance and high-risk nature of the brutal murders makes it more likely that the killer would show up to a funeral. Sometimes offenders do show up. They may take a lot of pleasure in thinking that they got away with the crime. And so going to a service like this where they can walk around and people don't realize who they are, that could certainly feed into that kind of egotistical response. Son of a bitch. Wow. Now, granted, despite the fact that I just a minute and a half ago said, what kind of person would do that? This kind of person would do that, according to this former FBI agent. That's not a normal response. And I guess neither is killing 4 people. I guess that's also not a normal response. So I guess when you're dealing with this abnormal behavior, I guess anything is possible. No opportunity is off the table. The University of Idaho held a vigil for all 4 victims this past Wednesday. Authorities monitored the event closely in case the killers showed up. An obituary for Mogan, Kaylee's childhood best friend, said that a joint memorial would be held for the 2 women at a future date. Loved ones of the victims and authorities are pushing for the campus community to report anything out of the ordinary. Hell, the killer could be listening to this podcast, because I am sure that this case is sweeping true crime podcasts. I'm probably one of 100 that is covering this story. And I didn't cover it last week because we did the John Leonard case with the interview with Lori and Deborah, or we would have talked about this. But I felt like this was the story to talk about tonight, even though it's being talked about on every true crime podcast, I am sure, at least the ones that cover current modern day stories like this story. Anytime you get a homicide of 4 people with no clues, no suspects, no tips. Well, they're getting tips, but they really have nothing right now. And it's rare to have this sort of case in today's day and age, with every phone having a camera, security cameras and doorbells. It is rare that you're able to kill 4 people, and as it stands right now, get away with it. And there's no guarantee that they're ever going to figure this out. And that's the crazy part. There is no guarantee that they're going to come to a conclusion on this case. There is no guarantee. You're talking about Moscow, Idaho. I am assuming, and I could be completely ignorant, but I am assuming that this is in the middle of nowhere, would be my assumption. But the fact that there was no sign of forced entry, they got murdered in the bed. Everybody was sleeping, right? I mean, surface level, it sounds like an inside job, but it almost sounds too easy to actually be the case. That it's actually an inside job. Somebody living in the house did this crime. Or maybe it was somebody who knew somebody who was living in the house. I don't know. But when you start talking about no forced entry, means either somebody let them in, somebody was allowed to just walk in, or somebody was already in. Those are the options, right? Am I missing something? I don't have anybody to bounce these ideas off of. I just have myself here. Puppet Vegas is not talking tonight. Maybe next week, but not tonight. But with no sign of forced entry, something tells me that they were either let in, they were already in. I mean, What else could it be? And who would want to kill these 4 kids? That's what Idaho's police department needs to figure out. I didn't even know there was a Moscow, Idaho. I'm sure a lot of you listening had no idea there was a Moscow, Idaho. You know now. Now it's the epicenter of the true crime world. Moscow, Idaho. And the pressure is on this police department to figure out who did this and bring them to justice. This is when Moscow, Idaho is in the spotlight. And it is time to put on our big boy pants or our big girl pants or our big no gender pants and figure this thing out. Was it the guy in the video? When the girls were at the food truck? Who would have just been let in the house? The spotlight is on the Moscow, Idaho Police Department now to figure this out. The ball is in their court. The pressure is on them. The pressure is not even on the killer to get away with it. The pressure is on the police department to try to figure it out. That's the crazy part about this case. Is the killer even a local guy? Who knows? The killer may not even be around. May not even be in Idaho. He might have vanished. He might go to the real Moscow in Russia. We will continue to monitor this, and on our next show, I'm sure we'll have some sort of update, and maybe we can get the real Vegas's opinion on this, since Puppet Vegas won't talk to us. I don't know, but I do know that the pressure is on the Moscow Police Department to figure this out. It is not on. There is no pressure on the killer because right now he's gotten away with it. So hopefully Moscow can figure it out, and these 4 families can get some closure and can get some justice.
Reverie, the state of being pleasantly lost in one's thoughts. A daydream. But what if those daydreams turn to nightmares? Reverie True Crime shines a light on the dark tragedies that have happened and are continuing to happen all throughout the world. We interview and work with families to bring awareness to forms of injustice. We explore the depths of cases from around the world to include missing persons, mysteries, and more. Reverie True Crime is found wherever you're listening to this podcast. Remember, you don't have to live in fear, but stay aware of your surroundings. Stay safe and take care.
From Idaho to Chicago, 5 people are dead following a murder-suicide out of a Chicago suburb, Buffalo Grove. Police responded to the home this past Wednesday for a welfare check on a female. Unable to make contact with anyone in the residence upon arrival, responding officers forced their way and discovered 5 dead individuals in what they believe to be a domestic-related incident. I mean, can you imagine that? This has 5 dead people inside of it, and this gets horrific. So, just a word to those listening. During a press conference yesterday, Lake County Coroner Jennifer Bannock revealed those dead in the murder-suicide are Lilia Kislyak, 67, Andre Kislyak, 39. Vera Kisilak, 36. Vivian Kisilak, 6. Amelia Kisilak, 4. Bannock said the causes of death for all victims was sharp force injuries. Chief Ryan Buds with the Buffalo Grove Police Department declined to identify who the perpetrator of the murder-suicide was or what the exact murder weapon was. But he did confirm that an animal was also found dead at the residence along with a family of 5. Buds called the crime scene traumatic. I'll give you a hint. It was Andre Kisilak. That's the hint. We are resilient by virtue, but what we do, but nothing really prepares you for that. It was a horrific sight, Buds told reporters. Speaking with WGN TV Wednesday evening, neighbors said that the family moved into the neighborhood about 4 years ago. We would see the kids playing about, neighbor Michelle told the station. They would have friends and family gatherings. Nothing too out of the ordinary. So it's a big shock to have all of this occurring, especially during this time of year. According to WMAQ TV, the Kilder Countryside School District 96 confirmed that one of the children was a student at an elementary school called Ivy Hall. Both girls were known to be happy and cheerful children. Our hearts go out to all those who knew them. Citing court records, the Chicago Tribune reports the couple's home was in foreclosure. So there you go. As you start to put the pieces together here, most of the problems, a lot of the problems in relationships stem from money. Andre and Vera were also in the middle of a divorce. So this makes this even more sad and pathetic, is that they're in the process of getting a divorce, and then this asshole goes and does this. The couple filed July 8th. Their last divorce proceeding was Tuesday. So now it's starting to piece this one together. This is not rocket science. Per the paper, which was the Chicago Tribune, citing court records, Vera obtained an order of protection against Andre on September 14. On September 30, he was arrested for violating that order. He was to have a hearing on December 13th. That's not going to happen now. Speaking with Vera's friend Lilia Vituli on Thursday, WBBM TV reports Andre physically abused Vera prior to her death. Quote, she had a couple of friends, no family here, and she confided in my mom, and my mom told her, you need to get out. She said that she can't. She had no money. She had no relatives. She couldn't leave that situation. So why do the police, probably knowing what we know, listen, we don't know that. If we know this, they know this. Let's get real. So knowing what we have here, why do the police not tell you anything? Why do they fail to let us know who did what? Why? I don't understand. The chief of police, Ryan Buds, declines to identify the perpetrator. We know who the perpetrator is. Once you do a little digging, hello? Order of protection, hello? Why do you have to get on TV and not be able to tell us who did it? You know who did it. Come on. Let's get real. I beggeth of you, get real. Please be real. Let's see. The wife is dead. Her mother's dead. or his mother's dead. I don't know. Who the hell is Lilia Kiselak? It's got to be his mother. He's killing his mother? Lilia Kiselak, 67. She's got the same name as Andre. It's got to be his mother. This guy's killing his mother? What a lunatic. That just dawned on me. I just realized. Hello? Lilia Kiselak, 67. Andre Kiselak, 39. Vera Kiselak, 36. So Vera's the wife. Vivian and Amelia are the two poor kids. This guy killed his own mother? What kind of shit? And Chief Ryan Buds doesn't have the balls to tell the community or the media who's doing what. That's sad. That is sad. Wow. That is sad. All right, if you're new to this true crime podcast, because I know we get new listeners every time we put up an episode, we like to end the true crime portion of the podcast, which is the majority of the podcast. We like to end it with a solved cold case, because cold cases make us happy. And this week, our cold case, Washington police have made an arrest in the murder of a teenager who was found axed to death. No, they didn't ask her a bunch of questions until she just died. Literally axed to death 24 years ago. The body of 19-year-old Jennifer Brinkman was found in 1998 when her father returned to his Marysville, Washington home from a vacation in California, discovered his daughter had been murdered with a fucking axe. Now, what kind of lunatic has the balls to murder somebody with an axe? After 24 years, police say they made an arrest in the cold case using DNA evidence. Puppet Vegas, that DNA evidence will get you every time. And crediting the advances made in technology over the years. The Marysville Police Department said in a news release, quote, the arrested suspect was one of several individuals detectives focused on throughout the years, and ultimately the advancement of scientific DNA technology, including genetic genealogy, led to his arrest. Police did not identify the name of the suspect, but said he was a 52-year-old resident of Renton, Washington. So take 24 years off of that. Do the math. He's 27 years old at the time? The New York Post reported on Wednesday the suspect was arrested. The suspect arrested is Jeffrey Paul Primo. Maybe it's Premo. And that he is being held on $250,000 bond. Police say Brinkman had been spending a considerable amount of time on telephone, dating, and chat lines, as well as using library computers, which is how authorities believe that she met the suspect. So you got to think 1998, I mean, that is peak AOL chat rooms. Peak. That is peak party lines. No, I do not frequent the party lines on the phone, but I did frequent AOL chat rooms. This is 1998. This is huge in 98. For those of you that are on the younger side and cannot put two and two together and do not understand the magnitude of AOL chat rooms in 1998. Booming, booming, booming. Police added that they believe the suspect has been living in the East Puget Sound area since before the murder and that he left the axe at the scene of the crime. Solving this case has been at the top priority of the list of the Marysville Police Department for the past 24 years. We never gave up or put this on a shelf. It was continuously being investigated with the belief that we would one day be able to bring some level of closure to the family and justice for Jennifer. Jennifer Brinkman, 19 years old, 1998, found axed to death by an asshole she probably met online. Because something tells me, I feel like this is an online perpetrator. I don't feel like this is a chat line perpetrator. I could be completely wrong. But this sounds like somebody from AOL. Or maybe somebody from CompuServe. Only sick assholes were using CompuServe. Only axe murderers would be using CompuServe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program to bring you a special bulletin.
Listen up. It's time for Ragin' Rob's Music Minute.
You do want to be a part of that, don't you?
Yeah.
This is Ragin' Rob with your Music Minute. I'm back, and so is my voice for this week, at least. Let's get into it. We got a lot of shit. So, big news announced this week. Metallica announced a new album will be dropping. The album entitled 72 Seasons will drop on April 14th, 2023. They also announced a huge tour, which will take part in both 2023 and 2024. The opening act, there's two different opening acts on each night, and they claimed there will be no repeat songs. Now, when I saw them last year, same thing. They played two nights at the Welcome to Rockville. They did not repeat a single song. So, it's Pantera with Mammoth WVH the first night. The second night will be Metallica with Five Finger Death Punch and Ice Nine Kills. Public sale tickets are on sale today. Your prices are very fair. They range from $90 to about $350, $400 for floor seats. And then you can upgrade there to all kinds of cool VIP packages. You know, there's a lot of hubbub right now. There's a $7,000 meet and greet package, and the media is blowing it up like, oh, Metallica's trying to get rich. Dude, you don't have to pay $7,000 to go to the fucking show. You want to go to the show? $90 will get you in. Go get your tickets. They're available now. All right. So also Morgan Wallen, I believe his name is, the country guy. He announced a tour for 2023. His tickets will go on sale to the public next Friday. All right. Now, I'm not big into conspiracy theories or anything, but I thought this would be something cool to share. So we all have heard Kanye West. He's just in big trouble right now with all his anti-Semitic talk. He has been suspended from Twitter as of this morning after posting a picture of a swastika inside the Star of David. Now, Kanye, obviously, if you've listened to this show and this Music Minute, I've always said a lot of bad things about Kanye. I don't think he's talented. I think he's a lunatic, all that shit, right? Well, if you go back to Aaron Carter's death a few weeks back, right? Aaron Carter had tweeted that he wanted to reach out to Kanye. Now, if you're into conspiracy theories, Kanye has talked about, you know, how Hollywood is just, they try to control everything, everybody. You have to look over his shoulder constantly. Now, Aaron Carter had said a lot of similar things. He was constantly paranoid, worried about people coming after him if he went against the grain. prison if he didn't do what his handlers told him to do and things. So there's some conspiracy theories that Carter did not kill himself and that something else had to. There's things that Kanye said about his approach, lock up and again, pump full of all this stuff. Now, Grant, can you take anything Kanye says seriously? Who knows? But if you're into conspiracy theories and things of that nature, you might want to dig into Kanye and Aaron Carter and all the shit that goes on in Hollywood. Now, granted, you shouldn't idolize anybody and you shouldn't take celebrities seriously. They're just human beings like the rest of us. They're not any better. Some of them have more talent, right? They're still human beings. So if you're interested in that type of shit, check it out. Kanye is currently suspended from Twitter. Also, the Spotify year 2022 rap came out this week. I listened more than 97% of others with a total of 82,859 minutes of music played. Fuck yeah, I love my music. My top artists, Taylor Swift, Aaron Lewis, Ice Nine Kills, A Day to Remember, and the Mighty Slipknot. This has been your Music Minute. Fucking rage!
Thank you, Rob, for that Music Minute. This is normally the part of the show where I turn it over to Vegas and he gives you some quick hits, some knowledge you could take away with you that doesn't involve murder and decapitation. And since he's not here, I get to do it, which this is an old gimmick of mine that I let Vegas have. Aaron Puppet Vegas isn't going to do it. He's sitting over here. He hasn't said nothing. So tomorrow, Saturday, December 3rd. I'm recording this on Friday, December 2. So Saturday, December 3rd is the 30th anniversary of the first text message being sent. Neil Papworth was a 22-year-old test engineer for a company called Sema Group. He sent the first text to a mobile phone on December 3, 1992, from his personal computer to the Vodafone network on the phone of Richard Jarvis. Can you guess what the text message read? Give you a hint? I won't give you a hint. I'll pause for a moment, let you think of an answer and guess. What was the first text sent 30 years ago, December 3rd, tomorrow? All right. If you guessed Merry Christmas, you were correct. If you guessed fuck you, you were not. The multi-billion-dollar video games industry began 50 years ago this week with table tennis in black and white, the classic video game Pong. One of the first to reach mainstream popularity, was released November 29, 1972. It was not the first commercial coin-operated video game. That accolade belongs to Computer Space. But it was the first to really take off with the paying public, spawning a host of imitators. Pong, often imitated, never duplicated. A guy in Chile stole a woman's lunch container as she walked by and then asked the victim to call police so that he could go back to prison. After checking the arrest records, police learned that he had recently served out a 12-year sentence. Apparently, he did not want to go back home to his wife. He would rather go back to prison. In case you were wondering, because I know you were, as you're listening to this true crime podcast, you were wondering, does Netflix still do DVDs? And yes, Netflix still does DVDs. Right now, there is 1.5 million subscribers in the U.S. that still participate in the Netflix DVD business. That is down from 16 million that were there subscribing to DVDs back in 2011 when the company started to focus on streaming. So there's still 1.5 million subscribers doing DVDs. And lastly, another little trivia game here on Ford in Vegas, a true crime podcast. The average family uses one of these about 7.5 years before throwing it away. I'll repeat it and I'll give you a moment to guess. Maybe you're with someone in the car and you guys are going to guess. The average family uses one of these about 7.5 years before throwing it away. This is where I would play the Jeopardy theme song, but I would fear that the video on our YouTube account would get popped. So I can't play Jeopardy. I could go do 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 boom boom. An artificial Christmas tree. That's what a family will use 7.5 years before throwing it away. And why not? It's up for a couple of weeks. Stick that fucker back in a box and we'll use it again next year. If you're watching this show on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Show them there. There. Well, Puppet Vegas showing you how to kind of do the thumb. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And you could watch this show by going to our YouTube, which you could find that link at FordandVegas.com. The show in podcast form is ad-free. That's right, ad-free. $3 a month. That's it. $3 a month gets this show ad-free. Goes to supporting the show. We always appreciate that. Patreon.com/FordandVegas. For the $5 tier and the $10 tier, you get this show in video form as well, ad-free. But if you are a podcast listener, $3 a month gets this show ad-free. Patreon.com/FordandVegas. Instagram and Twitter at Ford and Vegas. And if you want to buy a Ford and Vegas shirt, you can do so. Shop FordandVegas.com. Don't forget, we always recommend premium soft quality. We are a proud member of the Darkcast Network, which is the best indie true crime podcast network on the planet. Darkcast Network, the home of indie true crime podcasts. I am Ford for Puppet Vegas and The Real Vegas. We'll see you guys next time right here on Ford and Vegas, a true crime podcast for the ages with two friends who hate each other. I even hate this puppet. We'll see you guys next time.